It's time to look at some thrifted yarn. Sorry, I gotta make sure this magic bean juice does the trick before we dive on into this. Make sure I caffeinate. We're not hydrating right now, we're caffeinating right now. Hello, Internet. It's Audrey from Fire and Fiber. I am coming to you from my home on the Haldeman Tract, just outside of Toronto, or I guess, just sideways from Brantford. I don't know the direction. I'm in southwestern Ontario. I am an Anishinaabe mother. I'm a knitter. I work in the helper field, I guess I could say. My family is from Batchewana Band of First Nations in Garden River up on the Robinson-Huron Treaty. Today, I am bringing you a video that has been pretty highly requested. And it's actually been something I've been thinking about since I started my channel. Rather than doing the 17 other things I need to get done off my to-do list, I am going to record this instead. In true ADHD fashion. So today I am bringing you my 7 rules for thrifting yarn. It'd be cool if I had like some sort of like intro or whatever. Anyways, all right. So if you have watched my channel, you know that I love talking about the yarn that I've thrifted. There's 2 reasons for this. Number 1, I like to think I'm helping the environment by rescuing someone's unwanted yarn from the thrift store. Number 2, I am cheap. I am incredibly cheap. And so for me, I love a good deal. I don't pay full price. I love a good deal. And so I've been thrifting yarn for quite a number of years, and I am coming to you with the sort of 7 essential rules. I didn't actually think about them, never really sort of categorized them until this morning, but I pared it down to 7 rules for thrifting yarn or thrifting fiber or wool, whatever you want to call it. So first, I want to preface with a few things. There are a couple different ways that we can thrift yarn. So the first is thinking about going to a physical brick and mortar store, and these come with their own challenges. If we're looking at something like Value Village, Goodwill, like these stores have challenges. Absolutely. I am the first to admit that. Value Village, for example, is not a registered not-for-profit. It is a for-profit business. That comes with its challenges. Sure. A lot of the other thrift stores that I hit are either church run or church supporting, whether it be like a Mission Thrift, a St. Vincent de Paul, Redemption Ministry, Salvation Army, Goodwill, all of that stuff. That obviously is something that I take into consideration as well. When not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm choosing to not support those stores, but I think it's really important to understand where your dollars go and, things, all that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to say that I don't shop at those stores. I do sometimes feel a little bit hypocritical doing that. And so wherever possible, I do try to prioritize shopping at smaller, independent, rather than these sort of big chain stores. But it's really difficult in terms of availability. And also these bigger stores often have coupons and points programs, everything like that. So full disclosure, I am aware of that. In recent years, if you have lived in Canada, I'm not sure about stateside, but I would assume it's the same. You've probably noticed that Value Village has really cranked up its pricing. That's really challenging as well. However, I am an avid thrifter, and I would say 50 to 75% of what I wear and what my kids wear and what my partner wears comes from the thrift store. Again, if nothing else, we're hopefully saving it from a landfill. It's really hard going into thrift stores and looking through the clothing and seeing so much fast fashion, whether it's from Shein or any of those sort of similar stores. And I'm not crapping on Shein. I know that there are lots of challenges with Shein. And I also want to say that as a plus size person, for a long time, that was really the only place you could get inexpensive, not ugly plus size clothing. It's only been in recent years that these bigger name brands have switched to including, and I wouldn't even say plus size because I'm sort of like a mid size. I'm not fully plus size, and I definitely don't always fit into straight sizes. So when I'm talking about expanding their sizing, I'm talking about Old Navy expanding their sizing. Abercrombie has only just started, but again, they're really capping it at like a XL, like an extra large. So that's not even really truly plus size or inclusive, or other stores that only recently in the past couple of years have started expanding into larger sizes. Think Aritzia, think Hollister. And that's not ideal. That's not the ideal world that I want to live in, where, you go to a store and there's a very, very large women's straight size section and a very small plus size section. And what's in the plus size section is ugly, right? Like no one needs another cold shoulder top. I'm so sick of florals. I just want to look cute, but apparently the fashion gods that be can't believe that I have the audacity to be fat and want to be cute. So anyways, that's all to say, I am aware that there are challenges with Shein and these other fast fashion brands. Absolutely. I'm not condoning that. And it's really hard when you go into the store and you see lots of those brands. But regardless, I'm talking about fiber. So thank you for sticking through with my rant. I don't think I accidentally showed it. As you can see, I have one hand that is not fully healed up, but we don't have an open incision or stitches anymore. That one does. So apologies if you're squeamish. I was able to take off my bandage yesterday and then shower today. And I'm just trying to let it air out as much as possible and heal and things like that. So that's the brick and mortar store. The next option is if you were, let's say you're out at a flea market or a garage sale, something like that, and you were to purchase fiber. That's another option. And then the third way to thrift yarn is online. So things like Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark, Reddit has a whole bunch of threads for people who destash. Those are other great ways to purchase your fiber at a discounted rate. Or if you're looking for something that is no longer made anymore or one of a kind, things like that. I utilize those a lot and I also sell on those quite a lot as well. So I have my 7 rules and I use the term rule very lightly because I have broken all of them and I will absolutely do the same again and again. But these are just my sort of guidelines if you have never purchased fiber, I guess, secondhand, let's say. I am going to talk about my top first because then I'm going to go into the rules. I'm just really sweaty and I want to get this thing off. So this, I don't know if you can see, this is a top I made for myself from Thrifted Yarn. This is the Potluck Pullover by Verona Zakanowicz. I'm really, really sorry. Anyways, this is a free pattern on Ravelry. This is probably one of the first items I made for myself when I started getting into wearables. And it's this really beautiful pink, clearly hand-dyed fade. And so I say clearly because I broke the cardinal rule, which is I purchased this yarn. It came in a bag at Value Village. It was a partially done, really, really beautifully done crocheted shawl. So it was part of it was the shawl, and then there were the other cakes. And then there's the other, I'm filming, and then there's the other cakes. So I broke my rule in that I purchased yarn that was already caked up, that did not have a yarn tag. I had no idea what it was, the fiber content, anything. I took a risk and it really paid off. So what I did was I actually unwound the project and then I sorted the cakes. There were, I think, 4 colors. And then I just risked it. Like I honestly just winged it. I still have quite a lot of the yarn left over actually, but this is one of my favorite pieces. So it goes kind of from this and it's got like a nice loosey boat neck. I really like a sort of slouchy raglan, especially I'll wear this a lot over dresses and things like that, which is what I'm doing right now. So it does fade from pink with some blues into more peachy colors. And then there's a bit of purple that comes in. It does go down to, I don't know if you can see, there's some yellow in there too. Again, I had no idea what I was doing. I actually probably have about half of it left over. Actually, hold on. I think I might even thought I had some of it nearby. I don't know where I stashed it. And so like I said, I probably have about half of it left. I didn't weigh it at the time. This was before I understood the importance of using a scale and weighing your yarn and your fiber. I was really just freeballing it, but it's one of my favorite pieces. So that brings us to the first rule. As I said, that was rule number 1. That isn't the order that I put them in, but it just kind of made sense for the flow of this video to talk about what I was wearing so I can take it off because it's quite warm today. This room that I'm in somehow doesn't get as much heat or air conditioning as the rest of the house. So one of the main rules that I follow is not buying caked yarn or yarn without a tag, especially caked yarn. This is my public plea. This is a general call out to everyone in the fiber world. Stop caking your yarn until you are ready to use it. The amount of caked yarn that is just chilling without any labels drives me up the wall. Do not cake your yarn until you are ready to use it. Yarn winding is not fun. Like I loathe winding my yarn. I really wish like someone would come in and wind all my yarn for me. I hate it. Don't do it until you are ready to do your project. The amount of caked yarn that I see in the thrift store that has no tag, no indicator of what it is, fiber content, brand, nothing, it's insane. And it really pisses me off because I often will skip on them. For the most part, if a yarn is caked, I will pass on it unless I am absolutely certain I know what that is, what the yarn is. And that's pretty rare. The sort of example that I think of is during the pandemic, there was a whole lot of yarn shortage. I don't know if everyone remembers that. Like this was back when I was crocheting a lot and I was using a lot of acrylics from Lion brand and Red Heart and things like that. And so mandala cakes and that very one particular color of Red Heart retro stripe, that like, what is it? That like pastel-y neon-y rainbow, those would have been my only exceptions because I was obsessed with those. I was lasered in and I would be able to recognize them immediately and grab them. But that's really the only time that I would have been purchasing yarn that didn't have a label on it or that I couldn't tell what it was. Rule number 2, know what your yarn costs or what it is worth. So I'm going to preface this again. I work in my local yarn shop. So I have a pretty solid idea of what yarn costs, what fibers cost, things like that. Having said that, it's really important to understand what you're looking at when you're looking at it. If you don't know, I would assume most of us have a smartphone. Pull out your phone and Google it. I do this a lot, especially if I'm looking at a fiber and I don't know what it is. I will check on Ravelry and it'll tell me fiber content, things like that. But it'll also tell me if it's discontinued. I can see some example patterns, things like that. So knowing what it's worth is really important. There's nothing worse than getting hosed, especially by a for-profit mega demon like Value Village. I've gotten some fantastic steals. Knowing at least a general idea is really important. A couple examples I can think of. I was out at the thrift store. I was at a Value Village and I found 2 skeins of, I believe it was just sold it. Anyways, I found 2 skeins of one of those superwash wave yarns. It's similar to Spin Cycle. I can't think of it right now. Cascade, Estelle, Barocco. Anyways, I found 2 skeins of it and I could, they were still wound. The band was still on. They were wound and I could actually see the little ticket from whatever store they came from, what small yarn store or local yarn shop they came from. And I believe it was really funny. So they were in 2 separate bags. So I grabbed both of them and then I looked at them. They were both the same dye lot. Neither had been started or like wound or anything. And I could see the price tags on both of them. And I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm looking. And I looked at them first time when I grabbed them. And I thought, okay, that's an okay price. Got a coupon. And then I looked and I realized these 2 yarns that were originally priced at $17 were tagged in each bag at $17.99. And so because I have exactly zero shame, I walked to the back. I was near, like those sort of like, I walked to the back, like the warehouse section where I saw a staff working. I didn't help myself. Like I didn't walk in the back, but anyways, and I pointed it out to her and she was like, oh my goodness. And so they did retag them for me and I purchased them. That's fine. But again, knowing what things are worth is really, really important, especially when it's already tagged. You know how much it costs. But anyways, so another example of a yarn that I've purchased at the thrift store. This one is actually pretty pricey for what I normally pay, but the reason I purchased it is because I've used this yarn before. I know how much it's worth and I really love the color. And to me, it was worth it. So I left it in the bag so you can see. So I got this. This is Gusto wool. And I can just tell by the tag. I'm like that kind of person, but I was able to like move it over. And then I could see that it was like the Gusto core. And this I purchased from MCC Thrift, which I'm pretty sure was like the thrift on Kent in Kitchener. This one I purchased for $8. So MCC doesn't charge tax because they're actual not-for-profit. So I paid $8 even. Again, that is pricey for a little skein of yarn. I've definitely gotten better deals than that, but I really like this fiber. I've used it before and I will use it. So I was pretty tickled about that. That is rule number 2. Rule number 3, always have a project in mind before you purchase your yarn. These are 2 really good examples of if you wanted to buy larger quantities. You can see there's 2 bags of these old school Karen boucle and they're $6.99, which is a good price. Or if we even go down here, these are, I don't even know what this is, but you can tell it's all the same yarn and it's $5.99, $5.99 too. So that's a great option. I break this rule every day, every single day. But the reason I'm saying this is make sure that the fiber that you're buying is something that you're going to use. It's really easy to get excited when you see a fiber that you know is pricey, that you know is great quality, things like that. Or it's like a name brand or, something that you normally find in your local yarn shop. Be mindful that it's going to be with you. And so as great as it is to have these like fun little one-off skeins, it is challenging. So I've been challenging myself to use up my weird little thrifted odds and sods, which is why I knit. As I've previously mentioned, I used the Sidar Snuggly boucle, boucle to make a little baby hat because really what else am I going to do with one skein of this stuff? But again, it was like $2. I was excited about it. I bought it without really having a project in mind. Again, don't do that. And I say this because I do it often. So from me to you, try to make sure that you have a project in mind or that you know that it's a fiber you're going to use. If you know you're not ever going to use this really bulky, beautiful hand dyed, don't buy it. Even if it's a great deal, just don't. Okay, this one is a very important step. I mean, I think they're all very important. Number 4, always do some sort of sniff test or quality check. I'm going to put in a little video here of me explaining this a little bit more in the store, out in the wild. My last trick about thrifting yarn is doing a sniff test. This is really easy. You can just Even, the bags are stapled shut, so sometimes a little bit of air can get in or get out. Do the sniff test, make sure it doesn't smell like someone's old grandma's basement or cigarettes. It is later tonight, and I was editing, and I realized I made a critical error in talking about purchasing yarn. I forgot to include that when you are thrifting yarn and you do not know where or what home it is coming from, how incredibly important it is to make sure that you are storing it and treating it appropriately so that you do not invite unwanted pests into your home. So for me, this means freezing my yarn. Depending on the time of year, I will throw it in the freezer for a couple days. If it's winter, I'll leave it on my porch and just let the freezing temperatures kill off any bed bugs or anything else. I mean, it's the same thing as when you have other fibers. You need to make sure that you are taking care of your knit garments and your fibers, whether that's mothballs or cedar or whatever. But that was something that I panicked when I realized I was when I was editing, that I forgot, is that you need to make sure that when you are thrifting yarn, you are treating it properly so that you do not invite pests into your home. But it is so important to make sure, especially when you've got yarn that's bagged in plastic, that you do a sniff test. Okay, so it's story time, kids. Ready? Gather around, children. I'm going to tell you my story. I bought this beautiful, perfect lemon yellow chenille. Can't remember the brand. I think it was like a German yarn. Found a bag of it. I want to say there were like 4 or 5 little 50-gram balls. Paid next to nothing for it. Was super excited. Went to go create something with it. And this was the one time I didn't do this sniff test. And I am not kidding. I watched this happen in slow motion. I opened the bag and this like puff of dust and mold and mildew blew out at me. And then I could immediately smell cigarettes. I've been someone who's been smoking on and off since I was 18. Don't tell my mom. I love smoking. But this was like someone had smoked in their house for 45 years. And this yarn lived there the whole time. And then it was donated. It was disgusting. I threw out the entire bag immediately, took the bag, put it outside. Lesson learned. We always do a sniff test. So I showed a little bit of how to do this in the store. Sometimes I take advantage of the fact that, I say this nicely, sometimes people who are not me, truly, people who are not me will open a bag, help themselves to something inside that bag, whatever. Or, in this case, sometimes the bags are stapled shut. I will often find an opening and do a sniff. And this is like, I can't emphasize how important this is. Again, learn from my lesson about this stinky, smoky, beautiful, perfect yellow, buttery, gorgeous yarn that I was going to make. I think I was going to make a baby sweater. I mean, again, I wasted my money. I had to go buy something else anyways. I was totally cheesed. Like I wasted my money. It was beautiful yarn. I was totally cheesed. I knew better. Like I was kicking myself over it. Okay. Rule number 5. Always make sure that wherever you are shopping, especially if it's a larger chain, find out if they have coupons. Find out if they have email coupons if you are on their rewards point system, and utilize that as much as possible. So again, I've talked about what the challenges are around giving your money to different organizations or businesses or groups. However, a lot of the big ones do have a points program, email coupons, things like that. These come in handy, especially if you are someone who regularly donates your items. If you drop off donations, you'll often get a coupon, things like that. Hold on to those and use them. Email coupons, especially, I find are really great. In particular, the Goodwill and Value Villages, they've really ramped up their email campaigns lately. And so oftentimes yarn will fall underneath that category, whether it's like home things so be mindful of those coupons, especially because you might have a coupon that says bed and bath. However, a lot of times the yarn is tagged under bed and bath instead of housewares, or it's not really tagged as like crafts. So, or it'll be tagged as like other miscellaneous. And so you can see, especially online, what the coupons are what the coupons cover. Yeah, this one was bed and bath. That one's bed and bath. Great. Okay, fiber purchasing rule number 6. Sorry, it took me a minute to get that. Please, please, please learn from my mistake, because I make this mistake regularly. You need to understand what day of the week you are shopping on and plan appropriately. Don't go on Tuesdays. If you know that Value Village has Seniors Day every Tuesday and it's going to be a gong show, make sure you avoid shopping on Tuesdays. Again, I make this mistake all the time. I pay for it dearly every time. I'm so irked, especially now that most Value Villages, or at least the ones in my area, have a self-checkout now. They don't have actual cashiers, and they only will allow 2 self-checkouts to be open per staff member monitoring them. So if there's a huge lineup and they only have 1 person to cover cash, they're only going to have 2 of those self-checkouts open. So like I said, just be mindful of that. Be mindful of time of the year you're going. Be mindful of time of day, things like that. Don't be that person that goes at 8:30 when they close at 9. Just don't. You're not going to get a lot of great stuff anyways. I don't know which days my store does restocks. Almost done, okay? I don't know what day my local store does restocks. I know a lot of people have that sort of info up here. But again, like, especially after the weekend, Mondays are a great time to go. Again, avoid Tuesdays. Think about that sort of stuff. Think about the time of year as well. Do you want to be in Value Village on October 29th? Do you want to be in Value Village the week before Christmas? Do you want to be in Value Village on Earth Day? Like, all these things, keep that in mind. If you are okay with that, great. I am just someone who, I don't have the patience. I don't have the energy. I can't. I don't want to. And so I choose not to. Okay. So my last rule number 7. Okay. Fiber purchasing, thrifting, secondhand yarn rule, thrifting yarn rule number 7 is you probably don't need it. And what I mean by that is you don't need yarn. I don't need yarn. I need food. I need shelter. I need love. I need medicine. I need sleep. I don't need yarn. And so, yeah, sometimes you're looking at stuff and it's a great deal, or you're like, this is a beautiful color. Oh my gosh, I found a sweater quantity with the same dye lot of this really, really gorgeous yarn. Think critically if you're actually going to use it. For me, I will put it in my cart and then I will peruse the section again, and then I'll have a really solid think. Am I going to use this? Do I need it? Is it going to end up sitting in my stash? Am I purchasing for the sake of purchasing to chase that dopamine high, or do I actually think I'll use it? I know everyone loves showing off their stash. I actually am very deeply stressed out that I have a stash, and I've been attempting to destash it because there's just no way I'm ever going to knit everything in my stash. And so I've had to sort of like look a little bit critically and say like, okay, am I actually going to use that? And that's hard because I am someone who, yeah, I love thrifting. I love a good deal. I love like chasing that dopamine high, but just because it's a good deal doesn't mean you need it. If it's going to sit, if you're going to end up flipping it or destashing it again anyways, don't waste your time. I know that's really, really hard on YouTube where everyone's showing like their stash and their acquisitions and their yarn wall and blah, 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 blah. And I mean, I showed my yarn wall too, but my point is, if you're not going to use it, leave it there. Someone else will absolutely find it and love it and have a great time. Now that I've said all of that, I'm going to share some of my treasures of fiber and things that I've thrifted. So, my studio / office is still an absolute chaotic nightmare. I'm still working on cleaning everything up, so it's a bit of a mess in here. Okay, so like I showed earlier, I have the Gusto core in this really pretty like rust color. Very jazzed about that. I think I'm probably gonna make something for my mom for it for Christmas. A while ago, I was at New to You, which is a thrift store in Fergus. This was a while ago. And I found 4 skeins of Rowan Designer DK wool. This is they're 50 gram. It's 100% pure wool. I love Rowan. I have a lot of their project books, which I thrift. Really, really beautiful fiber. It's kind of this like olivey gold color. Definitely not sweater quantity, but I will use it for something. This was $3 bucks. Again, I purchased it from a store that is a true charity shop, and so they do not charge tax. So it's $3 all in. I got this bag. I'll show you. I don't even care to show you the price. So this bag was $5.99 from Value Village. I'm pretty sure that this is shawl in a ball. Got like the sparkle. And I think these are I think they're like those like stretchy cotton socks. They're both caked. Again, I'm breaking my rule here by purchasing caked unlabeled yarn. This one I don't know if you can tell. This baby, I was really intrigued by it. It's a cake. I think it's fingering weight just by looking at it. And it does look to be hand dyed. Do I need it? No. Am I happy about it? Yes. Again, going off of this whole unlabeled cakes, this bad boy right here, this was from Value Village. It was $7.99. Again, I think this is one of those stretchy, cottony, bamboo-y blend sock things. These colors remind me of like Scooby-Doo colors. Like the 2 different purples are like Daphne's outfit, and then this like green and orange would be like, what's his name? I just had to look it up because this is what happens when you do ketamine infusion therapy. You lose all short-term memory. So this would be like Fred Jones, like these colors with his like ascot. These 2 I thought were really pretty. This one, I'm not too sure. I think I can't remember what it was. I think this might be one from Michael's. This one I thought was really pretty. It's like a fingering weight. Just these sort of like jewelry tones. I think these 2 are probably the same, just wound differently. So again, I can probably I'll make something with it. I am such a dummy. Again, more cakes without labels. This is definitely a fingering weight. It looks to be hand-dyed, might not. It's this kind of like really pretty avocado green. So it's $5.99 from Value Village, which for a bag this size, kind of pricey. I digress. I absolutely have more. Those are just some of the things I wanted to show, like some of the yarns or fibers that I purchased from the thrift store or new to me. I also do have quite a large collection of yarn that I've purchased from people on Facebook who are destashing. So pretty jazzed about that one. I have been slowly working on this back here, which I'm really jazzed about. It's hard to tell, but I have sort of organized my books a little bit more. I'm in the process of cleaning up, destashing. Hopefully this won't be here next time. Again, I'm recovering from surgery. So I have had 3 surgeries in the past month. I had my carpal tunnel on May 13th. I had my hysterectomy on May 30th. And then I had my second wrist done on June the 10th. So 3 surgeries in about 30 days, 28 days. Feeling good. I'm tired. I finally got over the pain hump with this wrist. This wrist, even though it's my dominant hand, was actually a lot more painful than my right. My right was, just didn't hurt as much. I don't know if maybe because I still had more feeling in this wrist or because it's my left or just because my body's like really, really tapped out from all this healing and cell growth and regeneration and resting that it's been doing in the past month. I don't know. So I did want to do a project update quick too. So I had to take a few days off knitting when I was recovering and things like that. I was actually really lucky that when I posted my last video, I was really crusty because I couldn't knit, but I have been able to knit. So I knit a lot during my recovery from my hysterectomy and just started picking my needles again yesterday. Again, it's hard because when you're recovering from carpal tunnel surgery, you're supposed to, build up the muscles and use them, but not overstrain them, especially with repetitive activities. Cue knitting. So again, I work from home on a computer. So whatever, I'm just taking it easy. I have been working on using up my verses from Spin Cycle. On my last video, I had said that I wasn't sure what I was going to make. So I did decide on a cardigan. I am making Andrea Mowry's Come Back Again. This project is really fun. The pockets are knit first in order to give you a gauge swatch, and then you knit the sleeves, and then you knit the body after. So it kind of goes backwards. And for me, that is a really interesting way of holding me accountable because otherwise, by the time I got to pockets, I probably would have quit and not had pockets. And so I don't know if you can see, this is the Spin Cycle versus, and this is the color Sweet and Sour, Sour and Sweet, whatever. And so I'm just on my sleeve. I'm really, really excited with how this one is coming along. I think it's really pretty. And it's a fun feel. The other project that I'm still chipping away at is my sisterhood shawl. This is a test knit I'm doing for Brianna Arlene Designs. She's done a sisterhood cowl with the same pattern, the same stitch pattern, but now she's done a shawl. So I'm doing the sport weight, and I mean, it's not really a sport weight, it's more of a DK. So this I am doing with Drops Nepal and Spin Cycle dyed in the wool. And this has been really fun because I have been using up a lot of my odds and sods and my stash and things like that. The shawl that she knit was very a lot of her designs are very Southwest inspired. And so they were really earthy tones and rust, and golds and greens. And here I am doing straight up mermaid scales unintentionally. But yeah, I'm really, really, really excited for how this is turning out. I'm going to be honest, I'm not loving this color transition here. This was a choice I made and not feeling great about it, but I'm really loving how it's coming out. This is with Holy Toledo, Dear Diary, and a skein of Vibe Check. So, and I'm just going to show the color that is coming after. So the Vibe Check is getting into these really pretty neon, and then it goes back to teal and pink again. So I'm really, really tickled with that one. That test knit is finishing up July 6th. So I'm almost done. I'd say about 80% of the way done, and I'm really happy with it. It's a really nice, well-written pattern. It's very meditative, just easy peasy. I think that's it for me. It is Father's Day, so we are going to go celebrate my lovely partner who graciously gave me time to record today, even though it is his day. So for everyone, thank you for watching. I am Audrey, Fire and Fiber. You can find me on Ravelry, on Instagram at Fire and Fiber Knits, and I will see you next time. Okay, happy knitting.